sometimes you have all these things together and still doesn't take off, but eventually it does.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
a lot of things are outside our control, we can try our best every day and still not to get the outcome that we desire, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of letting go of that control and just giving it your best shot, as long as you continue to do that, that plane is going to take off one day, right? It might be a little bit delayed. There's another beautiful saying. I'm all about sayings.
Yeah.
What's delayed is not denied, right?
Nice.
And it will take off,
Yeah.
And one of the other things is being patient. I'm a very impatient person.
Yeah.
So I had to teach myself to be patient, and I have to do it every day, right?
Yeah.
So especially in entrepreneurship, starting off, one of the most fundamental things for me is to be patient and consistent.
What is up, everyone? This is Ronnie, your host of the Ronnie Asani Show. My number one goal in this show is to bring you some of the most amazing and accomplished individuals in the business world to share with you some real, raw, and authentic business insights. We sit down and talk in a casual setting, nothing too serious, yet we unpack some of the most incredible ideas, concepts, and best practices. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh, and don't forget to share the love. Like, share, and subscribe. Gracias, amigos. All right, what is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode at the Ronnie Asani Show. Joining me today is Dulanka Jayaweera.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Dulanka, fabulous to have you over here in the podcast. And just a quick introduction about Dulanka. Dulanka is the founder and owner of Ozone CPS, which is an amazing commercial cleaning and property services company here out of Australia. And some of the Australian brands they work with is Flight Centre, Metricon, Hudson Homes, and who else?
Whittle, Strata, Somervilles. We do a lot of strata cleaning. We do a lot of work for councils as well.
That's amazing.
And we do a lot of work for property managers like urban commercial.
That's awesome. Obviously, you're not going to say all the names of clients that you have because there's a lot of them. But yeah, so today we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about how to scale a business. We're going to talk about, the journey of as an entrepreneur, leaving, being an employee, working for a company, and taking the steps to starting your own business and making that successful. There's a lot of things that I'm hoping we can share with everyone watching and listening from your experience and also from mine. But yeah, without further ado, welcome aboard, and great to have you.
No, I've always wanted to do a podcast, so it's good to be here. It's kind of like all the buzz at the moment. A few of my friends are getting into it.
Yeah,
so I thought I'd give it a shot, and what a great way to start in your show.
So maybe a couple of years down the road, you're like, man, I'm like getting invited to 20 podcasts a month, but it all started at the Ronnie Asani Show.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to go bigger and get up there as well, Ronnie.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, where do you want to start? There's a lot of things that I'm sure you want to share. Do you want to start first by going through a little bit about like your journey, or do you want to talk about entrepreneurship in general?
Maybe the way how I found myself into business and entrepreneurship.
Let's go for it.
I think you know the story a little bit. Coming from a hospitality background, I started pretty much from bottom tier as a bellboy in hospitality in hotels in Adelaide, South Australia, and what an amazing journey. I really got to experience beautiful people and beautiful state of South Australia. Yeah. And my journey started there, and I've mentioned this to you as well, the customer service that I carry with me today was really drilled into me from the hotels that I worked at. And eventually, I started really enjoying what I did and moving up in my roles. And the more exposure I had to managerial stuff and selling stuff, the more business minded I got. It all kind of grew. I had no idea I was going to be in business when I was, 19, 20. It was very a far-fetched idea, and I was quite happy living the
You saw yourself way too far from that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you first started, like,
yeah, I had no. My dream was to become a general manager in hospitality in a hotel. Went very far away from it now, but yeah. So I started in hospitality, and I met some beautiful guests, some people that I became really good friends with. And one of my best friends, you know, who was a guest, and he encouraged me to get into business. And he's like, you know, dude, you have a knack for selling, and you have the gift of the gab. Why don't you try it out? He's doing really well. He's a very successful person, and I kind of liked his lifestyle. You know, I really admired the bloke, and I really enjoyed connecting with him and learning from him. And you know, I used to tag along with him when he went on my days off from hotels. I went and jumped in the car with him and saw what he did, and I got great exposure to, you know, running a small business. And eventually I thought, you know what, he's encouraging me enough. I think I've got a good insight into what it takes, and it's just pretty much taking my sales ability, customer service, and then putting that into, you know, a business, what business was going to be. And I didn't have much capital then, and I wanted to get into a business where I could kind of start from the scratch. And I was thinking about a marketplace, and being in hotels, I saw the cleaning invoices at some of the places that I was working at. I thought, you know, that could be a good
like, there's a lot of zeros on that invoice.
So yeah, a lot more money than I was getting paid in hotels, you know. So I saw an opportunity, and I saw something viable that I could move into kind of straight away, and off we went.
That's amazing. And there's a lot in what you just said, but I want to pick on one thing, which is mentorship and having, you know, a coach or a mentor or someone in your life. And I think that's something that is super overlooked. And a lot of us might be fortunate to grow up in a family where your parents, your father, your mother, someone in your, or maybe an older sibling who has a knack for, or is someone like a talented entrepreneur, or even have a lot of experience to share with you and take you along that journey. But sometimes that's just not there. And if it's not there, one of the most important things and one of the best things that you can ever do for yourself is to just go out and find that person, or find more than one person and bother them, like, just like, you know, be annoying, like, hey, I want to learn everything from you, like, show me as much as you can, because it will shortcut a lot of things for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really love that. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't know what I know today if it wasn't for people that I've learned from. I've just been a sponge, you know. I've seen something very common. People in entrepreneurship and business, there's like a blueprint, you know, and if I want to get there, I just got to kind of follow the footsteps that someone else has taken. And the best way for me to do that is to learn off someone directly. You know, obviously you've got to be unique in your approach, and everyone's got their own different personalities and businesses, but you know, the fundamentals to business is quite common.
Yep. You know, they all say back in the math classes, the shortest distance from point A to B is a straight line. In business, the shortest, you know, distance from point A to B is a mentor.
Absolutely.
That's it. And then after that, you can start to get more creative, experiment with different things, and not go about it the same way. And the mistake that I personally made back in the day was I wanted to be creative and come up with different ways of succeeding or going about something without even acknowledging or taking on board the proven methodologies out there, or the blueprints, like you said, and going about it. And it was almost like an ego thing, like, I don't want to copy anyone. Like, I don't want to learn like they do it that way. I'll just do it my way. There's nothing wrong with taking blueprints and applying them. And then once you establish a level of success, then you can start to, you know, get funky with it.
Absolutely. You know, pride is such a big thing that stops people from moving ahead, right? It's very hard to ask someone for help, or ask someone, you know, it's very hard to ask someone in general. Once you drop a bit of pride and a bit of the ego, you have more options, you know. Do you want to get ahead or not? Yeah. Really, right? Yeah. And sometimes you can become the barrier yourself in terms of moving ahead in your business life or whatnot.
Yep, absolutely. So you also mentioned that you wanted to start with minimal capital.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a lot of my Instagram audience tend to ask me that question. Like,
Yeah.
how do you start a business
Yeah.
with minimal capital? So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's, especially in this day and age and after a bit of recession with COVID and everything, not a lot of people have capital or want to spend a lot of money starting a business. And it's an open-ended question. There's a lot of answers. But what are your thoughts about starting a business without capital or minimal capital? And how do you make it successful without injecting a lot of capital from the start?
It's my favorite thing to do, you know. I think I'm stingy by nature, right? So I don't like to part with my money, and you know, and it opens you up to so much ideas, and life is about ideas, right? And everything around us is an idea that's been given a bit of kick, that's become reality, and there's so many things out there that people can do, and a lot of people that are, you know, maybe working full time, wanting to go into business, they might not have the funds to, you know, inject, go buy a business for $500,000 or blah blah blah. I think it's good to just brainstorm of the opportunities out there. Like, I never thought I'd be in facility services or commercial cleaning, but it was after, you know, a great deal of brainstorming, I saw the market opportunity as being a low entry business for me to get into, and for all your followers and people coming to you, there's so many things out there that you can get into with very low capital, especially in the services industry.
I was just going to say, services is your key to starting without capital. That's not to say that you couldn't start a product-based business without capital, but it's a lot easier and a lot more common to start a services business without capital, because you're selling time. And that means in the beginning you can sell your time, maybe others' time, but it's very much based on, do you get the job? Okay, now you go and fulfill it. Whereas a product, you're going to look at stock and things like that. And granted, there's drop shipping and things like that. But when it comes to a product-based business, your product is your brand, and there's a lot of different factors that you have to consider to make sure that it fulfills not just the brand guidelines, but the brand story and the image and a lot of things. So with that comes a bit of investment. And so a services-based business is the high-level answer to that question.
Absolutely. And
I would combine it with something you're passionate about, because if it's services business and you're going to be selling initially your time, you've got to love what you do. Otherwise, you're just going to quit eventually.
100%. You know, you have to do something you're passionate about. But for me, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the first thing that you do that you're passionate about. It could be the gateway to the second thing. You know, you could see yourself doing X, Y, and Z, and something that you really want to do, but it might just be a little bit far-fetched. But there might be a couple of stepping stones that can get you there. You know, and to raise capital yourself. That was one of the big reasons I got into commercial cleaning, you know, because I've got you know, a few things I want to do, and I thought, hey, this is a great way for me to generate some cash flow, generate revenue, and get in. So you got to do what you love, right? Otherwise, life is very draining, you know, especially work life can be very draining and taxing, and I hate it when work feels like work. I love it when work just feels like life and I'm just living, and so
that's really cool. And I guess I want to quickly go into the topic of motivation. And the reason I bring this up is Clubhouse is a social media platform, up and coming, excuse me, has been making a lot of headlines, and a lot of people talking about it recently. A lot of entrepreneurs, celebrities are on it. And recently, I'm not sure if you know about it, but it's the whole idea of the platform is you have these virtual rooms where people of experience and authority and subject matter experts go on and they talk, and you have a bunch of listeners. So this virtual room on Clubhouse had Elon Musk, and one of the people asked something along the lines, and I rephrase, that, you know, how do you find motivation as an entrepreneur? And the answer, again, I rephrase, was something along the lines of, if you need motivation, you shouldn't be in entrepreneurship, right?
100%.
And he got criticized for that by some people, but in some ways, I also find a bit of truth in that.
It's, you know, that is the truth. 100%. I saw that as well online somewhere, and I completely agree with that. You're going to have days where you're lacking a little bit of energy in what you're doing. They come, you know, for me, they come as well. But if you're not motivated by nature, just in, you know, in your essence, you've got to be quite driven. And
You don't have that fire.
you got to have the fire, man. You need the fire, right? And I think that's what keeps entrepreneurship going, especially at the start, you know, especially when things aren't going your way. You're not making the money that you want to make. You're trying to scale up. You know, it's a lot on your plate at the start. And what's really going to take you from, you know, the first level to the second level and so on is your motivation and your drive at the start. You know, that is your most invaluable resource in entrepreneurship is your drive and your fire within you, definitely.
And look, there's nothing wrong with working as an employee within an organization. Some of the world's top and best, most competent business leaders are employees in a company. Yeah. But at this point in time, and over the last few years, I never saw myself as someone working for a company. I saw myself as an entrepreneur and someone who works for himself. And I knew that because, one, I knew I had the fire, that I did not need anything else besides the internal drive to wake me up in the morning, and obviously not getting paid a salary. That was a motivation. And also the fact that I knew that working for yourself and starting a business and being an entrepreneur does not have a ceiling whatsoever.
Absolutely.
You are your own ceiling.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
What you do from, I was going to say 9 to 5, but as an entrepreneur, you don't work 9 to 5. You work from 7 to 7.
Around the clock. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you do within those hours and what your people do within that time is what really defines your potential.
Absolutely.
And so you agree that motivation primarily has to be, but I guess there's also ways you can continue motivating yourself.
Yeah, you have to, you know, like I have so many things around me that keep me going. Like I have so much clarity around where I'm going with what I'm doing, whether that's my goals being on my calendar. I have my diary, you've probably seen it.
Yeah.
My emails, I have it pinned, my goals,
Yep.
where I'm going, my strategies in terms of business or personal life, you know, whiteboard in offices, you know, in my place. I have it everywhere, you know, and in my car, I've got it written down. Everywhere I look, I'm reminded of where I'm going.
Yep.
It's very important, you know, especially in entrepreneurship, keeping that fire lit, because life can become distracting, right? Things get distracting, but you just want to make sure you have your eye on the ball and you're slowly progressing towards that. I listened to this beautiful YouTube video. I can't remember the name of it, but the guy said, you know, think about your business goals is just taking an axe to a tree one day at a time, you know. You just take that axe to the tree and one day it's going to fall down. So that's what I do every day, you know. I just hit the tree with the axe and chip away, really. Just keep chipping away at what I'm doing.
I like it. I like that analogy. I really do. My analogy is probably the same meaning, but slightly different analogy. So I think of it as runway, a plane on a runway. And you never know exactly when the plane takes off, do you? Right?
No.
It's always running too fast. And you're like, oh, it's
Especially
going to
with
take off
jet
right now. It's going to take off right now. It's going to take off right now. And almost always it takes off a little bit after you thought, but it does take off.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just pushing through and, you know, going at it. And eventually, granted, you have to know how to, you know, do the right things, put the right team, have the right product, etc. But sometimes you have all these things together and still doesn't take off, but eventually does.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
a lot of things are outside our control, we can try our best every day and still not to get the outcome that we desire, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of letting go of that control and just giving it your best shot, as long as you continue to do that, that plane is going to take off one day, right?
Yeah.
It might be a little bit delayed. There's another beautiful saying. I'm all about sayings.
Yeah.
What's delayed is not denied, right?
Nice.
And it will take off,
Yeah.
And one of the other things is being patient. I'm a very impatient person.
Yeah.
So I had to teach myself to be patient, and I have to do it every day, right?
Yeah.
So especially in entrepreneurship, starting off, one of the most fundamental things for me is to be patient and consistent. Easiest, we want to see results, as entrepreneurs and people with fire in our blood. You want to see results, and you kind of want to see results immediately.
Yep.
I do. But that's not the nature of the game. Things take time, and you just got to kind of realize that and accept that.
Yep. I think Gary Vee does a really good job talking about patience and telling people, like, why and how to be patient. Patience is key, is super important. Okay, so let's move a little bit into scaling, growing. So you started with no capital, fantastic, and you knew what business you wanted to be into, and you had other bigger goals in the future. So you're clear on all of that. So you have your reason why, you're clear on your goals. You found the business that you're passionate about, at least for the time being, and you started. What were the challenges that faced you from a personal experience? And then after that, we'll go into, and we'll tie it with scaling your business.
My personal experience is that
around like the challenges that you've had maybe the first couple of years, whether these challenges were because of lack of skills that you've had, or maybe challenges in the industry, or maybe just generally entrepreneurial kind of challenges.
Yeah, I think it's you got to do everything on your own at the start, right? So you're the worker, the manager, the marketing guy. You're the person on the ground, you're the one on the phone, and you've got to play a number of roles.
Yep.
That can be challenging because generally, I like to be an expert in one field and, really prioritize a few things. Whereas a challenge for me personally was doing everything and trying to do it to a really good level. I had to teach myself things that I didn't want to learn about, things I needed to learn about. So there's a lot of work outside of work to give me the competence to, really fulfill different areas of becoming a well-rounded entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main differences between, I guess, entrepreneurs tend to know a fair bit in everything.
Yeah.
Whereas if you work for a company, you're expected to be an expert in something. In your field. That's how they get the highest return on investment from your time, right? Yeah. So if you're an engineer, you got to be an expert. So you're spending your time day in, day out, being the best engineer you can for yourself and for the company that you work for.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're an entrepreneur making that transition as an engineer, you've got to know a bit about selling. A bit about, what marketing is, what digital marketing is, and maybe even a bit of law, a fair bit, like putting terms and conditions. And granted, you might work with someone, but going back to starting with minimal capital, that complements, or that is necessary to starting with minimal capital, because if you don't have a fair bit of knowledge and skill in all these different areas, you're going to have to pay someone to do that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. At the start, I did some of the cleaning myself. I drew up the contracts. I did the accounts. I did the calls. I went out to the walks. Did the marketing. They were horrible, but I did it, right?
That's all right.
Brochures, everything. I did everything myself. And that's what it takes. And, that's a really good way to start with little capital, We have time. Everyone has time on their hands, and I used, any spare time I had to develop my at that stage a side business.
Yep. What, out of curiosity, what sort of skill or area you found yourself to be good at quite quickly that you were not good at before you started? Was it obviously from your background, working in hospitality, customer experience, and customer service, along with sales, is something that kind of came naturally to you?
Naturally, yeah, absolutely.
What other things you found yourself like you picked up pretty quick?
Look, I'm pretty sure I have, ADHD, so it's really hard for me to sit there and be attentive for long periods of time. Like
Right.
it helps me with sales and customer service and, doing numerous things on the go, which helps in business. One thing in commercial cleaning and facilities services, there's a lot of tenders, a lot of writing. There's a lot of writing, especially when it comes to drawing up big tenders for clients, or RFTs, RFQs. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of time I had to spend sitting down on my laptop, writing things out and reading up on things and making sure everything was above board. That was probably the thing that I thought would be the most challenging, but it worked out okay,
It worked out okay.
It worked out well.
And what's the one thing you don't like doing that much?
I think that would be it, that would be it. That would be definitely.
But you picked it up, so that's good.
I picked it up, yeah.
Okay.
You got to have the frog, you got to eat the frog in the morning, or you got to. I try to do the task that I dislike the most first thing, Recently, I've been getting into training and running. I hate to run. I hate to walk up. I park very close to where I need to go, so I avoid walking. And at this stage in my life, I try to do my physical activity in the morning, and I try to do the tasks within my business that I maybe don't like. First off.
Yep. Cool. All right. So growing and scaling, was there something in particular that you knew from day one, or found that at a later point that you had to take care of to catapult and help the business multiply? Was it hiring? Was it a certain structure you had to have in your business? Was it tweaking the business model? Was it acquiring customers? Was it your marketing? What was one thing you knew for your business that was the most important thing you had to take care of in order to take off?
That's a no-brainer for me. Customers, I love my customers.
Yeah.
It's very special to me, like that is. And as long as I do a good job, as long as the team perform, we can move forward. Without performance, there's no growth, right? And one thing that I initially brought into my mindset within business was, once I capture clients, I then service, make sure everything is running really smoothly, especially at the start. Everyone's got different needs, so getting that down packed is very important. So I'd go out, get a client, make sure they were serviced really properly, the site was running, smoothly, and then go to the next person. So I'd get a client or couple, focus on those two, make sure it's serviced, and then move on to the next.
Yep. So what I'm hearing is your recipe, and it's quite ironic, your recipe to grow is not to grow too fast.
Yeah.
By trying to get like 5 or 6 customers at a time, or whatever that number is. Don't try to outgrow yourself, because you're going to end up not looking after them, and then they'll just leave you. So then you're just going to go around yourself like in a circle.
Yeah. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, right? Like, and I had to learn that in business. I was always go. Get more. And it's not the most effective approach for long-term growth. And like, when I look at a business, I really look at the sustainability of the business long-term.
Yep.
And, one of the fundamentals ways to do that is to make sure you're scaling, but you're scaling the right way. customer retention. You know, I always speak about customer retention is super important, you know, and that's very important for me, like looking after my clients and then moving ahead to the next person or the next opportunity. So I don't look for too many things that I can't handle within the organization.
Yeah. And I think from a marketing standpoint, growing too fast, and especially if you're in the servicing business, and not looking after the customers that you onboard or the clients that you onboard, will backfire because their experience is not going to be optimal.
Yeah.
They'll either talk about you online and say that you haven't done a good job, or they'll talk about you if they get asked. Someone else was about to sign up with you, and they said, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And or they might even question why this customer or client is no longer working with you or whatever.
Right.
So it can definitely backfire.
Absolutely. One of the best ways to leverage what you have is to get a good referral, right? And that's doing the best job you can for your client at any given time. And that's a great ammunition for you to grow is leveraging your current clientele so you can get the next one, and then using the next person to get the next one. It's almost kind of like a domino effect when you play it correctly. And then you're building your staff and your procedures, and you're getting a little bit more inventory, and then you're able to service multiple clients at the same time, and then you've grown. You blink and you've grown.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. So servicing your customers and looking after your customers is one of like your top things that you focus on to grow. Is there anything else around automation, optimizing your operation, people? Do you look, for example, at certain types of jobs or certain like roles that you need to fulfill? How do you delegate? Like, are there certain things that you do from an operational standpoint or try to focus on to allow you to grow faster?
Team, it's I can't remember the last time someone left. That was a permanent full-time worker. And the first cleaners that I ever hired are still cleaning with me today, and that helps me move forward. That helps Ozone move forward. That takes a lot off my plate and helps me concentrate on things that I need to concentrate on when you have a good team. So I've been quite fortunate to be able to build a good team, have the right people in the right positions to move ahead. For me, that's the most important thing, is having the right team and people with the same attitude. We have a simple attitude of we do whatever it takes. And my team, the organization, we embody that saying, and I can wholeheartedly say, everyone does that. Yeah. And that means a lot, so, and we can pass that on to the client.
Do you promote from within? Like, let's say tomorrow you have a vacancy or you have a role for an operations manager.
Yeah.
Do you only promote people who are inside the organization and have been there for quite a bit? Or would you also look at bringing someone from outside?
At this stage, a lot of my staff force have been recommended to me by current team members. That's helped me keep my costs down when it comes to HR. That's also helped me quality control the people coming in within the company, because I trust my team and I generally trust their opinion when it comes to other people. And that's been the flow effect. We've built a great team culture where everyone kind of knows everybody. We're all very friendly. We're all very hardworking. And if one of my team members that embodies the values that we cherish recommend someone, then I know that this person is going to have those same values. And surely enough, and they start and they do. So promotion within, and really listen to my staff in terms of referral for staff. That's worked. We've done a few hires on the web. I've hired a couple. Some of them haven't worked out, to be honest. So the hit and miss ratio is far greater.
The reason I'm saying this is shout out to Dean Salakas, co-founder of the Party People. He was on the show a couple of months ago. So the Party People, if you don't know, it's if not it's one of the biggest party supply stores in Australia.
Beautiful.
And so him and his brother took over the business. It was a family business, and he was telling me about a lot of things. PR. We talked about a bunch of different things, and one of the things he mentioned was they only promote from within.
Yeah.
So, like, a leadership position will never, ever, ever be taken by someone coming from the outside.
Yeah.
It's always going to be, and they'll work hard to make sure that the internal staff, someone is ready to take on the job, and they'll wait rather than going and bringing someone. And I found that, because obviously I knew about that, but I found the fact that it being a strict policy and that it works, I found that fascinating.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It definitely works. You know, it's less time that we're, as a company, investing into training. So you're saving money in terms of time and resources put to training. Generally because, you know, people embody those same core attributes that take it to be a good worker. You know, it's everyone's hardworking. My team is very hardworking, and I know if someone is getting recommended within my team, they're going to be hardworking. And if you have the attitude of, you know, as I said before, if you're willing to do whatever it takes, you're going to pick things up. And because we're like a big family, we're able to train each other. I don't necessarily have to be everywhere to train someone, or you know, people under me don't necessarily have to be somewhere to train someone. We really empower our team to train each other. You know, there's systems and there's procedures that we do have, but a lot of the training is done within. There's a lot of money saved when it comes to things like that.
Yep. Do you focus on cost savings as much as you focus on bringing in more revenue? Which one would you say takes more of your attention?
It's a fine balance.
Yep.
You know,
it's not a trick question, by the way.
Definitely revenue, right? I've always had, you know, a fine eye for revenue. Like that's what I value within a business, because I know if I'm bringing in the revenue, I can find ways to make sure the margins are a little bit more.
Right.
You know, as long as so I do the other way around. You know, revenue, and then work backwards to see how I can make a site more profitable, or make a quarter a little bit more profitable, and run a profitable enterprise. You know, without the money, there's nothing to be saved.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and
I like that. Yeah, that's cool.
That's, you know, it's as simple as that.
The reason I'm asking is a couple of days ago I was watching the Shark Tank, and I think it was the Shark Tank in America, not the Australian one. And there was this business, a dude and his mom, I think they were running it together, and they were going through the numbers, and you know, they start with like the ask and the equity and all that stuff, and then they go through the numbers they've achieved and the forecast and all that stuff. And one of the things they mentioned is I think it was the year, like the financial year that just finished, they did about 900,000 in sales, and I think it was less than 50,000 profit.
Right.
And none of the sharks ended up investing.
Yeah.
And they looked at them and they were like, you're just a business that focuses on just selling and not knowing how to make profit, like you said, from it. And that kind of like, you know, when you hear it, it makes sense. But it's just an amazing reminder that you need both, right? You need to know how to get more sales through the door, but you also need to know how to do that at a profitable margin, and find, you know, what areas you can save and eventually have a healthy margin. I'm not sure if that's true today, but I know for a very long time, and maybe on purpose, I don't know, but I know that Uber, for example, was never making any money, was in the negative, and perhaps that was on purpose, I don't know, but and perhaps that was because of all the lawsuits and, you know, all the additional costs that they had to, you know, incur. But sometimes you might have an amazing idea and
Yeah.
you might have a lot of tech behind it, a lot of things, and still doesn't make money.
Absolutely. 100%, you know, there's sometimes the grander the idea, the more that you got to put in. And as we spoke about, you know, capital raising, and there's going to be a lot that goes out. You want to keep the money in within the company so you can use that to grow, you know, you can use that to leverage your position. And it's a tricky balance. And I don't think it's something that's hard to do, right? It's not easily done, especially, you know, in selling goods. There's always going to be X amount going out. Yeah, so profit margins are very important.
So another thing about services business is you can overcharge, or not overcharge, you can increase, you can put a premium about, like, on the service that you sell, right? You can, you know, if today you're charging, I don't know, like $200 an hour for, you know, your accounting firm services, right? Tomorrow you can put 1,000 if you become that accounting firm that everyone trusts and looks out and looks up to and want to work with, or any other services business, right? You've just quadrupled or tripled or doubled how much you make on the time that you spend. So with products, it's a little bit different. It doesn't work the same way.
No, and you know, I've looked into because I buy a lot of supplies that we on-sell onto our clients, especially, you know, consumables and cleaning products, and it was very expensive where I was buying initially. You know, I first got into this industry. It was they were pricey, and those items are my clients were paying for, right? And a beautiful way to save money and is to go to the source, especially in the goods
Cut
industry.
out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman. That's not necessary, you know.
The poor middleman is being cut out.
If you're willing to go and seek, as you know, you will find. And if you put that effort in to find the best prices, there's some really good deals out there. And as long as you can source that, there's a bit of a margin. But it's worked well for us. You know, we've got some really good suppliers that we stock our consumables, chemicals, and equipment from. And you know, it's at such a great price that I could on-sell at retail or distribute and still make money. If I was to go down that line and do that as well. So if you own goods, source the cheapest and the best, you know. But there's going to be people out there selling really good value stuff for quite a good price.
Yep. Cool. What else do you want to share with everyone watching or listening today that is something you probably learned or mastered or got a lot of exposure in your journey that you think is worthy to share or even explore, you and I, to talk about?
I think, you know, for me, like, I'm about to be 28, right? And I think in your 20s is a great time to make a business move and get into your business, as it's, you know, it's a no-brainer. As we get older, you have a lot more responsibilities, families, and whatnot. So if you really wanted to get in business, go in young, you know, while there's less baggage around your shoulders. You have the space and freedom to do it. I've encouraged my staff to start their own businesses, you know, and I'll invest in them. But
that's great.
Go do it, right? Go do it. Like I think it's people think about things for too long. I love action, you know. I love massive action, and Grant Cardone is huge on that, and I've got that written everywhere as well. You know, massive action. Just I can spend so much time thinking about stuff when if I act and fail, I've probably got to that same decision within such a shorter time that I've spent dwelling on it.
Yeah.
So people that want to get into business and entrepreneurship, just do it. You know, you're either going to fail or you're going to do well, right? There's no harm in failing. Yeah.
Fail small, succeed big.
Yeah, absolutely.
fail in the small things and start small things that you fail in, so that when the big idea, or when you decide to pour in an investment or take money from your parents or your family or whoever, you've learned the hard lessons
Yeah.
without spending a lot of money.
Yeah, and I'm brutal with people that speak to me about business. I tell them, we're gonna die anyway. Everyone's going out the same way.
Yeah.
Why not live the life that you want to live? And you can do that. You can live the life you want to live, and life is precious. And I think for me personally, I want to build the life that I want to live, and I'm glad I put my foot into what I'm doing at the moment, and I encourage a lot of my friends and a lot of people around me to do the same thing. Just give it a go.
Fabulous. Well, it's been an honor to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed this conversation. Definitely learned a couple of things. I hope everyone listening or watching to have taken a couple of golden nuggets from this amazing episode.
Thanks, Ronnie.
And I hope 2021 is nothing but a super fantastic and successful year for you, mate.
Absolutely. Likewise for yourself, and I'm really glad I met you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie.